Good evening all. My name is Josie Volk and I'm here to help. No, you can relax. I'm not going to talk politics. I'm just going to talk briefly about events in the late 80s and 90s. Two events are arguably the two most important changes which have allowed the cotton industry in central Queensland to stay viable. They are the deregulation of ginning and marketing and the introduction of InGuard, or GM. In May 1989, legislation was passed to allow deregulation of cotton marketing and ginning in Australia. This meant growers could choose who they ginned with and who they sold to, without fear of possible prosecution. Prior to this, the Queensland Cotton Marketing Board had the legal right to gin and market all the Queensland crop. Central Queensland growers played a pivotal part in the push for deregulation. Dryland growers such as Murray Jones and the late Stuart Coker approached US cotton company Donovan's to build a gin. The gin was to enable expansion and ensure competition. They were supported by some, but not all irrigated growers. Queensland Cotton Board supporters were suspicious of a foreign company coming to the industry and didn't want change. Cotton grower meetings at the Ag College at that time were particularly feisty. Under the board regime, cotton prices were determined by the board, marketers, and pools were the only contract option. I remember pool prices of less than $200 a bale in the 80s, as well as waiting for up to 6 months for your cotton to be ginned. Fortunately, free market forces prevailed and Alan Brimblecombe announced the industry was deregulated at a shed meeting at Stuart Coker's farm. Donovan agreed to build a gin and construction commenced. The first bale was ginned there in March 1990. Today we enjoy the benefits of forward selling, merchant competition and 2 gins to choose from. The other major battle the cotton industry and CQ was fighting in the 90s was Heliothis insect control. Insecticide costs were escalating, endosulfan and pyrethroid resistance was threatening, and there was growing public concern about health issues associated with spraying. In 1996, the first genetically modified cotton variety, known as InGuard, was grown commercially. CQ growers adopted the technology with enthusiasm, but like deregulation of marketing, it was not without controversy. Placard-waving anti-GM activists protested at the cotton conference that year, and some southern growers considered it was too expensive. Today, 95% of the Australian cotton grown is InGuard's replacement Volguard. The most memorable social event of the 90s for me was the official opening of the Donovan Gin at Yamala. Picture white marquees, caterers and champagne flying in the red dust at Yamala. All CQ growers were invited, but not all came. Bill Donovan II, as well as Billy III and others, flew out from the US in their jet for the occasion. It was a great day for the Central Queensland cotton industry. Thank you to the organisers of the 40th year celebrations for their energy and efforts and for inviting me to say a few words. I hope you enjoy the night. Please enjoy the slideshow prepared for the 1990s and the rest of the night.
I think the industry has benefited, greatly through plant breeding, through our improvements in our varieties over the last, 40 years, but certainly in the last sort of 15 years, there's been this exponential lift in the performance of our varieties. I think that's a great tick for our industry. Another one that no doubt was through the mid-90s was the introduction of biotechnology to our industry. I think that made inroads into to managing pests, and it gave us all, I suppose, the freedom to operate a lot better in those days. To have to reduce our pesticide usage by 90% is a really good story that our industry can tell and has told, and hopefully will continue to tell. So they've been some good things. Of recent years, there's no doubt that as a transformational thing for our industry has been the introduction of round bale pickers. As much as that might think like that's not a big issue, it's been a big issue for our industry, and has made that whole process of working around, picking is a lot easier now. So
yep,
they're ones that would stand out in the last sort of.
I think I'll take a moment and celebrate my age, the ending of an era and the turning of a page. Now it's time to focus in on where I go from here. Lord, have mercy on my next 30 years. In my next 30 years, I'm gonna have some fun. Try to forget about all the crazy things I've done.
As a kid, it was fun. When Dad drew the first irrigation block, it was exciting yet daunting. But as a kid, you didn't know the pressures that your parents were going through, and the stress they would have had to develop the farm, and having to go to the bank and borrow money, and we're all still doing that today. But in those early days, it would have been difficult in an emerging sector, emerging industry. So we had a lot of fun. The irrigation, that was great. We picked up sticks, we knocked down fences, pushed over trees, and developed this farm. And it brought a lot of memories back and a lot of hardship. One thing I don't miss is the chipping weeds. We'd come home from school and we'd have to chip weeds day in, day night, and a really interesting story that I can tell, but it's we were paid on a weed. We were paid 2 cents per weed. Now you've got to think about how inefficient this was, and I often talk to my father about this today, how inefficient. So we'd pull the weeds, we put the sespanis into an old bag, and then they would spend all night counting the weeds out to pay the kids. I think, how inefficient was that? Why don't they just pay us an hourly rate like they do today? So anyway, we've made marked improvement since those days. So, and again, that's where technology's come in to complete it.
Maybe now I've conquered all my adolescent fears, and I'll do it better in my next 30 years. My next 30 years, I'm gonna settle all the scores, cry a little less, laugh a little more. Find a world of happiness without the hate and fear. Figure out just what I'm doing here in my next 30 years. Here we go. All right. My next 30 years, I'm gonna watch my weight, eat a few more salads and not stay up so late, drink a little lemonade and not so many beers. Maybe I'll remember my next 30 years. My next 30 years will be the best years of my life. Raise a little family and hang out with my wife. Spend precious moments with the ones that I hold dear. make up for lost time here in my next 30 years. In my next 30 years. Oh, oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Oh, here we go, boys.
I think locally, you know, this is a fantastic area in Emerald Irrigation. And you think about how we all sort of started here. It was, you know, we all came to the area, I suppose, with the arse out of your strides. And no one, this is the first generation money, first generation opportunities. And this isn't second generation or third generation, as in some of those southern valleys, southern cotton growing valleys that came from the wool days and other industries. So I think we've got a good story to tell, and you know, we're slowly advancing, you know, in the area. You know, we've probably all still got the arse out of our strides today, but it's been a good journey and a lot of fun.
Going out on the highway, my thoughts are still with her. Such a strange combination of a woman and a child. Strange situation, stopping every 100 miles, calling Baton Rouge. A replay of last nights have been thrown through my mind, except a scene or two erased by sweet red wine. And I see a truck stop sign ahead, so I change lanes. I need a cup of coffee and a couple dollars change, call it Baton Rouge. So here we go! Operator, won't you put me on through? I got a smile up down to Baton Rouge. Hurry up, won't you put her on the line? I gotta talk to the girl just one more time.